You're not coming to the wedding.
That's the whole text Mom sent me.
Dry as dust. Sophie's family doesn't want you there.
I just stared at it for a second and smiled to myself.
Then I typed back, so, you picked image over family?
And with that, I started pulling the plug on everything I'd set up, starting with the venue deposit. They had no idea what was about to hit them.
No explanation. No apology. Not even a half-hearted hope you understand.
Just that cold message in gray text on my screen.
I read it once. Then again.
Just to make sure I wasn't missing something, some small hint of warmth.
There wasn't any. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, coffee sitting beside me, going cold. Then I hit send.
So you chose status over blood?
No emojis. No snark. Just the truth. Plain and simple.
Then, without a second thought, I flipped open my laptop, logged into the wedding planning account, and canceled the venue reservation. It was under my name, paid with my own credit card.
They didn't even realize that. Best part? That deposit? Totally non-refundable.
I shut the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and just stared at the wall in silence.
Strangely enough, I wasn't mad. Not yet. I wasn't sad, either. Just still.
It felt like something inside of me had shifted, like I'd stepped outside myself and was just watching it all play out from a different angle. It wasn't the first time they'd done something like this, but never this open.
Never this bold.
Before, it was all quiet digs.
Offhand jokes at dinner. Weird looks I'd pretend not to notice.
They forgot my birthday 3 years running and said it was the group chat's fault.
Blamed the algorithm. And Sophie?
She became the golden child. The one they were clearly proud of.
And me? I was just Ethan. The helper. The fixer. The silent one in the background.
I helped pick the dress shop. I negotiated the first catering deal.
I even found the Airbnb for their out-of-town guests.
When Miles's folks said the lodge I suggested was too rustic, I found a fancier one with lake views.
I even built the Save the Date website. They used my Canva account.
Still had my login saved.
But suddenly, I wasn't part of the picture anymore. I'd become a problem. Because Sophie's dad didn't like my vibe. Because I wore black to brunch. Because I asked where the hell the $3,000 for catering went and didn't back down when Mom said, "Just trust us." They'd leaned on me for everything. Until they didn't need me anymore. And now they were building their perfect, filtered little family photo. And I wasn't in the frame. Just smiles for the camera. No Ethan.
I took a breath, opened up the shared folder, Sophie and Miles' wedding planning, and started scrolling through everything I'd uploaded.
Photos. Contracts. Vendor details. All 63 files. Deleted. One by one.
Then I renamed the folder, Good Luck Without Me.
I didn't say a word to anyone. No heads up. No warning. Let them figure it out when the florist doesn't confirm.
Let them scramble when the photographer ghosts them. Let them wonder what happened when the venue sends that polite but firm email, "Unfortunately, this reservation has been cancelled by the account holder." They assumed I'd take it quietly. That I'd do what I always did, swallow it and smile.
But this wasn't about just one wedding.
This was the final fracture in something that had been cracked for years. This was them putting scissors in my hand and expecting me not to cut the rope.
They wanted me gone? Wish granted. They just didn't realize I'd take the whole damn scaffolding down with me when I walked away. And honestly, that was just the beginning. They'd always painted me as the emotional one. The overreactor.
The guy who reads into things too much.
All right. So let me tell you how I got here. Let's rewind 6 months. It was a Friday night. Sophie called me bawling.
Miles had just gotten laid off, and their downtown apartment was 3 months overdue on rent. The landlord wasn't playing around, he wanted all the money by Monday or eviction papers were coming.
I didn't even pause.
Transferred $3,800 straight from my savings and told her to let me know if she needed more.
That was the third time I'd covered for them that year. The first time? Dad messed up his retirement account and needed $5,000 to dodge penalties. The second? Mom forgot the bachelorette Airbnb was on my card.
The girls trashed the place.
I kept track of it all. Not to throw it in their faces, at least not at first.
But I needed to remind myself I wasn't crazy.
That this wasn't just in my head.
The slow drip of money, energy, time, it was real. All going into a family that treated me like their invisible ATM. But it wasn't just about the cash. It was the way they treated me after I helped.
Like I was just staff. Some background stagehand.
Dad once joked, while I was fixing the gutters during a storm, mind you, that I should just be a house husband since I wasn't cut out to be a real man.
Everyone laughed. Even Sophie.
I brought it up later, said it stung, and Mom just waved it off, told me I was too sensitive.
Said Dad was just old school. Old school? That man once locked me out of the house for wearing eyeliner in high school. But sure. Maybe I was too sensitive. When Sophie got engaged, I found out over FaceTime.
Mom and Dad were literally on the couch behind her, beaming like they'd won the lottery.
They'd helped plan the whole proposal. Even went ring shopping with Miles. Me?
I found out about the engagement like I was watching someone else's life through a screen. Looking back, the signs were all there.
I just didn't want to believe them.
Some part of me still clung to the idea that if I gave enough, helped enough, they'd finally see me.
Really see me. Like I mattered. I covered the $600 for their engagement shoot. No questions asked. I built their wedding website from scratch. Designed the custom invites.
And when Mom said her card was acting weird, I paid the venue deposit, too. Little by little, I was helping build their perfect day, laying each brick while they smiled and tossed me scraps. Called me a good sport, like I was the help and not the brother.
Then the texts started rolling in. First, Aunt Laura, hey, I heard you're not invited to the ceremony? Is that true? Next, Uncle Brian, did you say something to Miles's dad? Just wondering.
And then came the final blow, a Facebook post that knocked the wind out of me. There was the photo, Sophie and Miles, standing with my parents in front of a barn dressed up in fairy lights.
The caption?
So proud of our family.
Can't wait for the big day with all the right people by our side. The right people. I wasn't even tagged. Out of morbid curiosity, I checked the comments. One of Sophie's old friends wrote, "Is Ethan going to be there? He was always so funny." Sophie replied, "We're keeping things small. Just people we trust. Just people we trust." I laid awake that night. Didn't sleep a second. Instead, I combed through every receipt, every email, every time I'd been told I was selfish for asking to be paid back. That's when it clicked.
I was the only one in this family who gave without strings.
And I was also the only one who never got anything in return. A week later, a group text landed in my phone, "Hey fam. Can everyone chip in for Sophie's bridal shower decorations? Ethan, since you're so good with websites, can you build an RSVP page? Thanks. Hugs." I didn't answer. 10 minutes passed and Sophie texted me directly, "Can you just do this one thing without being passive-aggressive?" So I did something else. I logged back into the venue account.
Technically, the $2,500 deposit was non-refundable, but I checked the little box for wedding insurance when I booked.
Nobody had noticed.
I filed a claim under family conflict. They refunded 90%.
Next, I logged into Canva. Deleted every single design I'd made, the save the dates, the welcome signs, the table seating chart. All of it. Gone. Then I created one new file. Just one. Title? Asked Ethan's dad to fix this.
I shared it with the entire family.
And just like that, the fire started. 3 hours later, my phone rang. It was Mom. She was in tears, practically screeching, "What are you doing? Do you even realize how this looks?" I said, "Yeah, Mom. That's exactly why I'm doing it." Then Dad called. No small talk. Just full-blown yelling, "You've always been jealous of Sophie. That's what this is. You can't stand her having a better life than you." I pulled the phone away from my ear and hung up. That night, my phone exploded with messages. Sophie posted some cryptic Instagram story, "Betrayal always comes from those closest to you." Then Mom put up a picture of Sophie crying with a caption, "Nothing hurts more than your own brother trying to ruin your special day." Messages came flooding in. From friends. Cousins. Some were gentle, "Are you okay?" But most just went straight to the point, "Why would you ruin her wedding?" I didn't respond to any of them. Then came the envelope. Plain yellow. No return address. Inside? A printed screenshot of a group chat, Sophie's bridesmaids. It was all there. Sophie laughing, "We'll get Ethan to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him about being the only brother. Works every time." Another one, "Miles doesn't even like him. Says Ethan gives him the creeps lol." And then the last one, "He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch." There was a sticky note on top. Handwritten. "You deserve better, Kay." I didn't know who Kay was. Not yet. But I was going to find out. And when I did, everything changed. Because Kay had more than screenshots. Kay had audio. And the second I heard Sophie's voice, clear as day, laughing about manipulating me, I knew exactly what I was going to do at the rehearsal dinner. It was held at some overpriced vineyard, about a half hour outside the city. They called it rustic luxury, which basically meant fairy lights stapled to trees and a wine list that could bankrupt a small country. I showed up clean. Calm. Focused. I wasn't there for the food. I came to burn the tent down, metaphorically speaking. They were in the middle of a toast when I walked in. Sophie was mid-laugh. Miles had his arm around her. Dad looked like he wanted to disappear. Mom wouldn't even meet my eyes. They weren't expecting me. That was clear. I was supposed to be the villain. The bitter brother who just couldn't move on. But I wasn't bitter. I was done. I walked right to the front. Tapped a glass. "Sorry to interrupt," I said. The room froze. A few awkward chuckles. Sophie's smile dropped. I pulled a small Bluetooth speaker from my jacket. Set it on the table. Then I held up a flash drive. Miles stood. "What are you doing?" I looked him in the eye. "Giving you exactly what you deserve." I hit play. Sophie's voice, unmistakable, came crackling through the speaker. "We'll get Ethan to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him about being the only brother. Works every time." And that silence? It hit like a thunderclap. Mouths dropped open. Someone gasped. A fork clattered against a plate. I didn't move. Another voice played. Another message. "Miles doesn't even like him. He said Ethan gives him the creeps lol." Miles went pale. Sophie lunged for the speaker. I stepped between her and the table. "Sit down." It wasn't a request. Then came the last clip, Sophie again, her voice lower now, cruel, smug. "He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it. Watch." I hit pause. Let the silence hang in the air like a storm cloud. Then I looked around the room. "Any questions?" Miles opened his mouth. Closed it. Said nothing. My father stood. Face flushed. You think this is appropriate? You think this is? Sit down, I said. And for the first time in my life, he did. I turned to Sophie. I've spent over $11,000 on this wedding. I built your website. Negotiated your venue. Paid your florist. I did it because I thought naively that this was what family did. Sophie was shaking. Mascara streaked down her face. You don't understand, she stammered. No, I said. You don't. You never did. You didn't want a brother. You wanted a wallet. Then I pulled out the folder. Thick. Heavy. Hard copies every screenshot. The texts. The PayPal receipts. The invoices I covered. The ones they all forgot about. The group chat where Sophie jokingly called me the family's free wedding planner. I handed it to Miles. You still want to marry her? He stared at the pages, reading in stunned silence. Then someone stood at the back. A woman in a gray coat, badge hanging around her neck, phone in hand. Hi, everyone. Sorry to intrude, she said. I'm Danielle. Ethan and I used to work together. She held up her phone. I also run a digital forensics agency. Sophie blinked, confused. Danielle continued. Ethan asked me to verify some files. To confirm they weren't deepfakes. She turned to Sophie. This audio? It's 100% real. No edits. No splices. Pulled from a WhatsApp backup linked to your old number. She smiled, but it wasn't warm. I've got the metadata too. Sophie's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Mom clutched her chest. Dad barked, is this some kind of joke? Danielle didn't blink. Not even a little. Then came the breaking point. Miles turned to Sophie. His voice tight. Controlled. You told me Ethan threatened you. That he was unstable. You said he said horrible things to you. He held up the printouts. You lied. She reached for his arm, panicked. No, Miles, I just... Don't touch me. Then the room fell apart. An ant started yelling. A glass shattered. Mom tried to speak and choked on her own shock. And through all of it, I stood still. Calm. Silent. Watching it all collapse. When the noise peaked, I raised my voice one last time. I'm not coming to the wedding. You already made that decision for me. But now you get to do it without my money. Without my help. And without my silence. I turned to my parents. You cut me out the moment I stopped playing the puppet. So now I'm cutting the strings. I turned to leave. But just as I reached the door, Miles said it. I'm calling it off. Loud. Clear. Final. Sophie screamed a sharp, animal sound that ripped through the room. You can't do this here. I looked back. Oh. He just did. And then I walked out. No music. No applause. No slow motion. Just the sound of their perfect little fantasy collapsing behind me. I didn't drive straight home. Didn't even get on the highway. Instead, I took a quiet side road, heading north. Somewhere with no signal. No noise. A month before all this, I'd signed a lease on a tiny cottage in a forgotten town. Population, 600. One diner. One gas station. And not a single person who knew my name. That's why I chose it. I paid 6 months up front. No forwarding address. No breadcrumbs. Just silence. For the first 3 days, I didn't turn my phone on. Didn't check emails. Didn't speak to a soul. I sat on the porch with a thermos of black coffee and watched birds fight over trees they'd never own. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. No tension in my neck. No guilt twisting in my chest. No one calling me only when they needed a favor. No more pretending love came before the ask.
On day 4, I walked into town and enrolled in something I'd always been too ashamed to chase.
An archival preservation course at the local college. History. Dusty letters. Old newspapers.
Finally, I was surrounded by things that kept records honestly. There was no performance here.
No guilt. No U.O.S. I started volunteering at the county museum. Helped catalog 1950s photographs. Repaired a microfilm machine from the 80s. No one noticed. And for once, that was the point. It was mine. Quietly, fully mine.
The messages started showing up a week later.
An old Gmail inbox. A backup line. I didn't open the first few.
The subject lines were enough.
Can we talk? You went too far. We're still family.
Then came the blocked calls.
Dozens of them. I left the phone off. Because I knew. They weren't trying to make peace. They weren't trying to apologize.
They were trying to reset the game.
It wasn't the evidence that scared them, it was the silence. They couldn't handle not knowing what I'd do next.
Because for the first time, they weren't in control.
3 weeks later, a court notice hit my old apartment.
Apparently, my father had tried to sell part of the family property. What he didn't realize was that I'd locked the deed 2 years earlier after he accidentally tried to remortgage it without my consent.
I'd left it there. In legal limbo. Waiting.
He triggered the clause himself. The deal collapsed.
The buyer walked.
And he got slapped with a fraud investigation.
Not because I made it happen. Because I didn't stop it. No blog post. No dramatic tell-all. No group chat bombshell. I just disappeared. No birthday calls. No wire transfers. No maybe next time.
And that was what destroyed them. Because narcissists don't fear consequences.
They fear irrelevance.
They fear a stage with no audience.
One morning, I walked to the post office. Just to pick up a small package. Behind me, someone was on the phone. I heard Sophie's fiancé walked out before the wedding even happened. Apparently her brother disappeared. Took all his money with him. I didn't turn around. I never made a statement. Never clarified the story. I just became unreachable. No address. No number. No access. They thought silence was weakness. They never realized it was a choice.
A quiet, surgical form of goodbye. Not with words, but with absence.
The kind that can't be manipulated. The kind that forces people to sit with the wreckage they created. They can't guilt me anymore. Can't call when rent's due or the card is maxed. Can't pretend things are fine when they need something. Because there is no more we. Just them.
And a mailbox that says, no message received.
You know what's funny?
When you finally walk away from the people who built their lives on top of you, they don't fall.
Not right away. They just freeze. Stunned. Like someone cut the power and they don't know how to find the switch. That's what happened. After the rehearsal. After the explosion. After the silence. They still believed I'd come back. Because I always did. But this time? I didn't. New number.
Not a SIM swap, a new carrier.
New country code. No forwarding. No auto-reply. Just nothing.
I closed the joint account Dad linked to me for emergencies.
Rerouted all bank statements to a private digital vault. Updated my medical POA.
Removed all family names. Even changed the emergency contact on my license from mom to nobody.
They don't know where I live. Where I work. If I'm in the state. the country, or even above ground. And that? That kills them. A month ago, I went back. Just once. Not to the house. Not to the vineyard. To the venue. The wedding I cancelled. It was empty. A crooked for lease sign dangled on the front gate. A crushed bouquet lay half buried in gravel. It felt right. I rolled down the window. The breeze smelled like rain and regret. Before I drove off, I did one thing. I walked up to the mailbox at the front gate. Slipped in a small envelope. No return address. Inside, a printout of the last invoice I paid for the wedding. And a single post-it note on top. Thanks for nothing. I don't check the old email much anymore. But sometimes, I log in. Just to see the flood. One unread subject line, please just talk to us. I didn't open it. Another, we don't know who you are anymore. That one made me smile. Because finally, they're right. I'm not the one who covered bills at 3 a.m. Not the emergency contact. Not the unpaid therapist. Not the invisible sibling. Not the guilt-choked son. I'm just a guy with a new life now. One they can't reach. Can't twist. Can't rewrite. Last week, I got a new mailbox. Metal. Clean. Lockable. One of those secure Dropbox types where once something goes in, it doesn't come out. The installer asked what name I wanted engraved on the plate. I told him, no name. Just a message. So now, on a small brass plaque below the keyhole, it says, "This box does not accept apologies." And the silence I hear every day? It's not loneliness. It's peace.